Flipboard fam, I want to apologize to you. Your favorite coach's computer died, and this episode was supposed to be out about 2 months ago. I want to give a special thank you to Slumberkins, Callie Christensen, and Kelly Oriard for sitting down with me. Slumberkins, for me, represents a vital reminder of positivity and social wellness in schools and at home. Callie Christensen and Kelly Oriard from Slumberkins provide us excellent insight in this very important topic during our show. By providing helpful tools for positivity, Slumberkins helps families create caring rituals that will last for years to come. All of their products offer lasting positivity through their unique Slumberland creatures, so be sure to visit their website and check them out today. You can catch their show on Apple Plus and join the positivity movement. So like we always do at this time, let's collaborate, communicate, and educate with the best educators in the world right here on Flipboard EDU Podcast.
Welcome back, Flipboard fam. It's your favorite Coach Jeffrey. I have two amazing guests here tonight. I have Callie Christensen and Kelly Oriard. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here.
I'm going to start with Kelly because I can get her name right first. Kelly, tell our listening audience a little bit about yourself.
I am the co-founder of Slumberkins and am also a marriage and family therapist and school counselor, mom of two little boys, 5 and 7, and really excited to be here.
Callie.
Kelly.
My name's Callie Christensen, and there's a story behind my name looking like Callie and Callie. It's my dad misspelled my name. I was going to be a Caleb, but then I was a girl and they named me. They just continued the CAL, but it actually, my dad is notorious for not spelling things correctly. It's funny that he actually spelled it like Callie. I'm the special education teacher behind Slumberkins, and myself am a mother of 3.
Thank y'all for coming on the show. And Callie, forgive me for mispronouncing your name. I promise you it is not on purpose. And the C and the K is throwing me off.
No worries at all.
Forgive me. All right, let's talk about how Slumberkins came about. Both of you are educators, and I think your story is wonderful. I'm going to start with you, Ms. Christensen. Tell us how you came up with the idea.
Kelly and I were we've been best friends since we were 14, and we ended up on a maternity leave from our roles as educators, myself in a day treatment environment, which is the most extreme environment you can get in the world of special education before a child might be placed in a residential facility for behavioral mental health safety concerns. And Kelly was working as a school counselor in Portland Public Schools as a therapist in the school. So we were both working in the therapeutic realms of the schools and interfacing and doing a lot of the same interventions with students. We ended up on a maternity leave together with our now 7-year-old boys and just had this moment of an aha moment of putting some therapeutic power in the parents' hands before a child might get to where we were interfacing with them in the schools. And that came out in the form of books and our characters through like narrative therapy and social stories. Kelly happens to be a therapist that can write. She authored our early stories and actually still oversees all of our publishing. But as a teacher and a counselor, we did not know how to start a business at all. So in the early days, we ended up teaching ourselves to sew and pairing the hand-sewn creatures with our books that were at the time just poems on cardstock and selling them at different local craft fairs around the Pacific Northwest.
Kelly, why did you see the need for Slumberkins to get started in your profession?
I was working, both as a prevention specialist, which is basically a social worker in my school. I was grant funded for a bit, and then I switched to becoming the school counselor. I was really able to interact with the community and the family members in my first role, as well as do deep therapeutic interventions with families in the school system. And as I transitioned to being a school counselor, I really saw the disconnect between home and school, and also the need for supports around behavior issues, mental health, emotional wellness. And what I really saw was that parents, of course, want to do the best they can for their kids, but there weren't a lot of resources out there. It didn't always feel good hearing it from the school counselor calling you. People would feel worried that their kid was in trouble or not doing well when I was trying to call and proactively support them. And I think the line was out the door. There was wait lists to have a mindfulness group with me or come to the classroom. And the time that I spent with kids and families and teachers was always so short, but so impactful that I wanted there to be something more systemic intervention that didn't necessarily come from inside the school, but started with the intent of empowering parents to take the lead in this.
When you all formulated, were you working with a certain population of students? Were you in a high performing neighborhood, or were you in a low socioeconomic, or which group did you start off initially saying that this needs to be taken into account for?
We were both in Title I schools.
Title I schools. One of the things about Title I schools is that there are very small supports for what you guys are doing. You really hit a niche, and just looking at what Slumberkins really is. How do we come up with the name, Ms. Christensen? How does Slumberkins get to be the name of your program?
Slumberkins came about because our first two characters and collections that we made were Bigfoot and Slumber Sloth. And because at the time we were also making this for parents, and as parents with new babies, we were like, oh, whatever parent needs is tools for sleep, because we were all we were very tired. It was by far and away our best-selling character. And at first, actually, we had named them Slumberland creatures. And I think we just gravitated towards slumber in general because we knew that parents, if you look at a parent's busy day, the most connected time that they're typically spending with their child is in that bedtime routine, the hour before bed, where they really are putting phones away and reading books to their children, and it's moments of connection. We figured if we can insert these tools at that time of day and even go with the name Slumberkins, like maybe we'll make an impact in that moment. And it just stuck. The characters became Slumberkins, and with Slumber Sloth being the best-selling creature, we came up with it one day, and it just has a nice ring to it.
I'm gonna just imagine the conversations that you guys are having. I bet it just sounded weird to your husbands. You guys are talking about Slumberkins and Slumber Sloths. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
There were many people who were very confused at what we were doing. Not only did it sound weird, we were literally sitting at our kitchen tables, like cutting fur that was like flying all over the house and getting on everybody's clothes and making a total mess. And I remember people coming to visit and my husband saying, Kelly's doing this really weird thing right now. Just be nice. She's very excited about it. She's doing some craft fairs. Like, it's just a phase. But turns out it wasn't a phase. We had
Hey, great husbands. That's a good thing to have. I'm going to tell you. I only know because I am one. I know that you guys have 17 easy to prepare unit plans with 68 total lessons. What are some of your lessons geared to address?
But each kind of encompass, or they're each programmed around each of our character collections. For example, our Bigfoot character teaches about self-esteem and gives parents the tools to build that in their child in the home environment. The school curriculum is standard aligned, and it extends the learning over the building blocks of where a teacher can interface and teach similar lessons. And what's the coolest thing about, I think, the program that we have is that it's so interconnected between home and school. All of the curriculum resources have homeschool connection letters that are like pre-written for teachers to be able to just send home, and then parents can follow a QR code and extend the learning at home. Very much is a connected program, which we know as educators is a big hurdle, where as a teacher, you just want to engage the parents. We built it like that. It's fun to build curriculum through the lens of what we wanted to have. But we have the Bigfoot curriculum that teaches self-esteem. We have a Yeti that teaches mindfulness, a unicorn that teaches authenticity, a honey bear that teaches gratitude. Each of these unit plans goes deeper into those skills and allows a teacher to reinforce these important skills in the classroom.
I know that you guys are also targeting exclusive early access for teachers.
As teachers, we wanted to go directly to other teachers as quickly as possible. And like Callie said, we developed it with ease in mind, making it as turnkey as possible and easy to use as possible, because we know how little time teachers actually have during the day and how swamped they are. We wanted to make everything about this super easy. We have a free trial that's open to them where teachers get free access to try these out. We also always are giving discount to teachers when they buy for themselves, as long as they can prove that they're teachers. There's a lot of perks within the Slumberkins world to bring teachers in, and we really value teacher feedback as well, because coming from the schools, it's our vision to really connect home and school, and we know that teachers are really doing so much in the schools, and we want them to be a part of the brand as well.
And that's good. We're going to link that into our show notes at the end. Callie, I got it right this hour?
Yeah.
Got it right? Good. All right, Callie, I want to talk to you about the content as far as coming back from the pandemic. A lot of teachers are recognizing that there's a lot of stress within students. Are you still in the classroom at all, or have you guys, do you know of any teachers who are benefiting from seeing this program working?
We're full-time Slumberkins now, but we do have a cohort of teachers that have been piloting the curriculum that we work very close with on getting feedback and understanding how it's being used. And I think what we continue to hear from them is the intent of engaging the parent in the learning is working, and that's the most exciting thing, and that it really engages the students in the classrooms. And I think that's something about Slumberkins in general. The creatures disarm and engage kids or students in the environment, and then the vitamins and lessons really come in the content, whether that's in the books, or we actually have a YouTube channel that's packed full of great educator content that's also housed in the curriculum hub that's a part of the free trial. But teachers continue to tell us that the content just continues to engage the kids more than anything else that they've used before. And I think it's because coming out of COVID, in a lot of ways, we're still in it, but we've just been living in a crisis for 2 to 3 years now, and it's crisis among crisis, and everyone is exhausted and overwhelmed and just need these moments where the social emotional well-being of children is put first. We know that actually schools are asking a lot of teachers to teach social emotional skills and make time for it in the classroom, but then not providing resources. That was another reason why we're like, we need to get these out like ASAP, because teachers are overwhelmed themselves. They don't have time to make curriculum.
You are 100% correct. I also like to take this time to plug the fact that I'm a high school principal, and I really see the benefit of tools or curriculums that are already established for teachers to engage with. And Kelly, you said that your husband is a high school Spanish teacher as well. Does he use this in his class at all?
Actually, he does. We're translating our books into Spanish, and he teaches like full immersion and teaches the kids where they don't have desks and they stand up and interact. So he can actually teach lessons like they're in kindergarten because they're in a new language. So he totally loves to use these lessons.
I think kids will respond to it as long as they can. There is also some good news at levels. You said that you have a YouTube channel, and you also have a series that is coming out on Apple TV. How did that happen?
I guess I'll jump into that. It has just been a totally crazy ride to get to this point that we have the Apple TV Plus show coming out. Kaylee and I were in the classrooms not that long ago working in the schools, and this was a side hustle. And we went to a conference and ended up meeting the president of television for the Jim Henson Company, ended up connecting with her just on a personal level. She had a child that was experiencing anxiety. We were talking about the tools that we made, and we had actually just went on Shark Tank right before we met her. And with the awareness we got, we were able to invest a little bit of money into making our own stuff on YouTube. And we had built our own puppet. And we were just like a little bit nuts in the things that we had big dreams of what we wanted to do. So we made our own puppet, and we're like going to do our own TV show on YouTube. And she just thought that was so great and said, hey, why don't we partner together and let's do this? It's been years in the making, but what I will say is we're so happy to be on Apple TV Plus. They are so concerned and supportive of educational content, really pushing the boundaries of what's next for kids' education, especially in the preschool space. And we were really lucky to have Dr. Dan Siegel be a part of supporting on the curriculum side of the scripts and infusing everything that we tried to put into the products into this show that really is different than anything else out there. We're so excited that it's finally going to be available here on November 4th.
Kaylee, I want to go back to you. I want to ask you about leaving the classroom. I know that you and Kaylee were friends for years. Another thing that's happened post pandemic, if we're talking about students with social emotional problems, we also know that teachers are also getting out of the classroom. Taking that step when you realize that you're not going to sign a contract for the next year. Talk us through that process. Like, how was that for you?
It was really, quite honestly, I really missed the students and working with them on the day to day and the families that I worked with. Because a lot of my caseload was, I had them for like 4 years, all through their high school career. Actually, I was in the high school side of day treatment. And with leaving the classroom, I can also attest that like even pre-pandemic in a day treatment environment, I completely experienced like teacher burnout because it's such an intense environment. So I think it just, teacher self-care is something that probably isn't talked about enough and actually put into practice in schools at the district and building levels too for teachers. We have lots of friends that are still in the classroom that just continue to say that it's like nothing ever happened now that they're back and they're still being held to the same set of achievement standards while there's this enormous learning gap, and it just feels so overwhelming. And there's really not a lot that we can do about that until things start to change at a larger level. But what teachers can do is start to really tune into where they are in their emotional well-being and start to take little steps in self-care to protect themselves and put boundaries in place for their own well-being. I know Kelly's kind of an expert on this as a therapist, but I would just say that leaving the classroom is a really hard decision. We luckily had the safety net to jump into Slumberkins. I don't know that a lot of people would say a startup is a safety net.
It's definitely not a safety net. It was a big risk.
I would say it definitely was a big risk with no health insurance for a minute. So it was not a safety. It was also a really big dream. It was something that we just couldn't say no to. We actually ended up leaving our worlds in the world of education when we had the chance to go on Shark Tank. And we were like, this is a moment where if we have a moment that we need to be all in at, this is it. We have to see it. We can always go back to the classroom if we need to. This is the moment.
I totally agree with that. And although education is a calling, and I'm not saying that everybody should leave, but some people don't belong in the classroom anymore. I personally feel, as my own personal opinion, is that when it's time to go, it's time to go. And that's just my opinion. Kelly, when you left the classroom, did you have any hesitation she already answered the question, but it's your side of it.
I loved what I was doing, but I really feel like I'm doing the same things that I was doing just on a larger scale at Slumberkins. We try to hold the training, the thinking, the perspective of teachers and educators and families. Our base is the schools. And for us going into this and bringing that perspective to a more wider audience from a consumer product lens or from a media lens, that's a huge opportunity. And I feel really excited, but I really feel like I'm doing so much of the same things. I definitely miss interacting with kids on the daily, but when we get to do live events and I can read books and engage with kids again, I always love that. But I understand why many people are leaving the profession, and I agree with you about, for some people, it's not the right thing anymore. But man, it is a rough profession that doesn't get enough accolades from the greater society here, because it is a very difficult job and makes a huge impact on the next generation.
You guys are based in America, I'm assuming. Have you branched out, or is it a worldwide thing yet, or is this just an American thing?
When the show debuts on Apple TV Plus in November, that will be our first kind of major step into as a global brand. Like, the show will appear in over 100 countries and be translated in over 20 languages, which we're so excited about because it just creates more accessible content to so many more people. That being said, the brand that we've built, it is worldwide. We ship worldwide all the time, but I would just say most of our consumers are in the US and most of our educators are in the US. We have some in Australia and Canada as far as an education standpoint right now, but I would say we have big plans to expand globally, but we're still taking those small steps to get there.
So right behind you, I keep noticing that there are stuffed animals. Are they stuffed animals or are they puppets?
They're stuffed animals. Okay, this is a favorite of school is our Hammerhead Shark, which has a whole curriculum on conflict resolution and repair. And I would say as a special ed teacher and a school counselor, our students were the hammerheads, the ones that were labeled the bad kids, the ones that would have too big of a reaction to someone else who was poking at them. Our hammerhead mascot, everyone loves and gives kind of teachers a fun tool to engage kids with, and then gives kids the script on what to say when you mess up, and understanding that the feelings of anger and mad aren't bad. They're just feelings, and there's messages there underneath those feelings. And what do we need to talk about to understand them? Yeah, no, they're really fun. This is where it gets really fun to create these things. This is Dragon that promotes creativity, which we have a whole unit plan around creativity with really cool art projects involved that are embedded within the curriculum. It is really fun to be able to create these things. Even though we aren't working with students directly ourselves, it's really fun to infuse our backgrounds as educators into these kinds of creatures and lessons.
That's pretty cool. How many books do you have written for those?
I believe each character has 2 books that are really focused on like parents. And then there is an education book that's larger for the classroom size. And at the end of every book, I wish I had one here. I'm like, at the end of every book is actually a lesson plan that's built in so that a teacher could actually just make that a sub plan. And there's like a back page that you could take to the copy machine that is the worksheet and activity like after the story. The books are built for ease of use, and the lessons are really plug and play and scripted. So that's another thing as teachers and counselors. A lot of times I had paraeducator teaching lessons in small groups for me. There's multiple small groups. Having something that you can plug and play and even have parent volunteer come in and teach these lessons with kids. That was really important to us, that a teacher didn't have to read a textbook or a guidebook in order to implement. You can just print and plug and play.
You know what? It seems like you ladies know what y'all talking about. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you hit the nail on the head. And I think true educators, I don't really watch Shark Tank. Well, I don't know if y'all got funded or not, but I'm telling y'all, if I saw y'all on Shark Tank, I'd be like, yeah, they need to sign them up because they know exactly what to do.
We're just making things, we're solving our own problems. That's the thing. Like, we weren't 2 teachers that had a great business plan to go start a business because, you know what, we did not even get an offer on Shark Tank because we couldn't even articulate what our vision was that greatly. And even when we went to go sell at local craft fairs, like, rarely does anybody start a business like that. Had we had the business backgrounds and the resources, we probably would have started out publishing a book and then developing these characters. But no, it was a complete part of the journey is just, I think, the tenacity and scrappiness that comes from being an educator where you just don't have resources. You just make it happen.
You make it happen. And I could just sit in here. I think teachers get you. I think by what you were saying, anybody who knows education, who cares about kids and knows the niche that you're trying to fill, you guys have filled that cup all the way up. I want to say, first of all, if you hadn't heard from an educator and administration, I want to tell you thank you for what you've done, because I think you are inspiring to both fill in the gap for parents and students. And then you also wrap around and are beacon to those teachers who have a gift inside of them, who need to get it out, but don't know what to do. And I think that you ladies have provided a very good avenue for those teachers to do that, because even though some people might not want to be in education, they still can support education. And the good thing about you both is that you have the passion for both. Like, you still are educating and you still are providing a niche in education. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. It feels good to be seen by people who get both sides of it. We don't have to explain so much like the way we're thinking. And that's always why we love talking to other educators and admin, because it's just the way that we all think in the schools, right? When you're coming together and how you're going to wrap around kids and make the biggest impact.
Because ultimately, the whole purpose that you're doing it for children. That's the purpose of what you're trying to fit. I appreciate that. I want to start off with and this question is going to be for Kelly, where can our listening audience find you at?
She's like, easier, Kelly. Oh.
Did I say Kelly? I'm sorry.
I think so, but I can answer. We usually hang out on Instagram at Slumberkins. We have an Instagram specific for educate called Slumberkins Educators. And then we have a couple Facebook group communities. One is called the Slumberkins Social. That's more of our parent community, but there's lots of educators in there. And then we also had the Slumberkins for Educators Facebook group too, where teachers are sharing tips that use the curriculum and are in the content hub and showing student results and giving us a lot of feedback. It's fun for us to engage with those.
I wish you all the best. And as an educator, if I want to purchase any of the books or the stuffed animals, where can I purchase those at?
Slumberkins.com, and there is a tab for educators specifically right at the top, and you'll want to sign up for the educator membership because that's where you'll get a code that will be 20% off site-wide. But the curriculum hub and free trial is just free. That can be immediately.
Great. And there's currently you guys are still running on that one, right? You're not going to close it down in 2 weeks?
Nope. That one will be around for a while. We want everyone to be able to experience what we think is amazing socially emotional content that's housed in the curriculum hub.
I am probably going to set my Apple TV to check out Slumberkins, and I'm going to tweet and watch. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to tweet it and watch it. I'm going to make my son, he's in the 6th grade, I'm going to make him watch it too.
Let's see if we can get down to those deep, childhood feelings from watching the preschool show. And our hope is we bring a little tear to parents' eyes as they learn the lessons that they maybe got passed by when they were kids.
It's shameful, but I still watch Yo Gabba Gabba with my kids. So your back to school episode.
That's awesome.
I feel like you might like the Slumberkins show.
I think so too.
Hey, especially good music.
There's amazing music. It'll be live on Apple TV Plus on November 4th.